So, the learning objectives of the book are one, appreciate the difference between passively watching movies and actively looking at movies. So, you know, one, passively watching movies is just watching movies, just laughing and enjoying. But then actively looking at the movie is kind of trying to predict what the movie what's going to happen, trying to figure out what the movie is saying about life in general. Understand and defining characteristics that distinguish movies from other arts. So how are movies different from um, you know music videos or paintings? Understand how and why most of the formal mechanisms of a movie remain invisible to casual users. So really, usually when people look at a movie, they're not analyzing it. So if you're just looking at Raiders of the Lost Ark casually, you're not analyzing what's going on, what's happening behind it, and there's a reason for that. Understand the relationship between viewers' expectation and film makers' decisions about the form and style of movies. So the viewer thinks that the movie should go one way, and then, but the director might think the movie should go another way. Explain how shared belief systems contribute to hidden movie meaning. So, there's a lot of hidden meanings in the movie. Based on if you're an American, you might see something different in a movie, or if you're um, from South America, you might see something a little bit different in a movie. If you're a Christian or if you're a Muslim, you might see things differently in a movie. Explain the difference between implicit and explicit meaning and understand how the different levels of a movie can contribute to interpretive analysis. So, some movies tell you what they're about, from the get go. You know what they're about. You know what the point is. But then there's some movies where they don't really tell you the point. You kind of have to think about like what's going on and what the real meaning of the movie was. Understand the differences between formal analysis and the types of analysis that explore the relationship between culture and the movies. So there's, I guess, a formal way to criticize movies, and it helps you understand culture in the movies. And then what I want you to do is begin to look at movies more analytically and perceptively. So don't be passive. Like I remember one time I was watching a movie and I was learning stuff in school. I'm watching this movie, and when a person in a movie dresses in blue, blue means cops and security. So, that's what the director or writers was supposed to was wanted to portray with that particular wardrobe or costume that the character wore. Looking at movies have been around for 100 years, and they're getting different. They're evolving. Different ways to get the movie. Usually, at first was only in the movie theaters. Now we got Redbox, downloading, streaming. Movie offers a form of escape, entertainment, and pleasure. But they can be more than entertainment. They could, be a protest. They could be informative. Tell about society or the industry that created it. It's art. So, if you passively watch a movie, you just want the entertainment value of it. So, you know, what you see in a movie is not necessarily real life. So there's like cinematic language. So again, like lawyers have their own language, like they call it legalese. Doctors have their own language, when they write those prescriptions and talk about. Well, movies have their own language, and it's different from, how real life is, the language of real life. So actually, in a movie, it's a lot of technique using cinematic language. All right, the next is, what is a movie? So there's difference between movies and films. It's saying film is often applied to motion picture that critiques and that critics and scholars consider to be more serious than movies that entertain the masses at a multiplex. So a film is more scholarly, and a movie is just more for entertainment. Cinema are like works that are like art, like French cinema. It's like a work of art. It's like the highest form. But those three terms are like mixed and intertwined. So there are a lot of different types of movies, narrative films, there are documentaries. So North American and Western movies are focused mostly on the individual character psychology and what motivates the characters. But Latin movies are more like political allegories. That means they think about, they're like telling a story, a political story about something that's real, about society. That's what an allegory is. Movies move, but unlike photography or painting, films are constructed from individual shots, an unbroken pan of action captured by uninterrupted run of motion picture camera that allow visual elements to rearrange themselves in the viewer's perspective itself to shift with any composition. So the the movies are moving, and even the what you think about the movie changes. So movies move from one shot to the other, and then what connects the shots are the editing. editing really shows the reader what shows the reader shows what the reader is going to see. So there's different shots, like there's a so in a play, the actors have very few practical options. Um, they can't move around like they do in a movie. A movie, you can get a cut to a close-up shot. You have an object, kind of have a faraway shot, but then you can get a close-up shot with the movie, like a bracelet. The next is the movie director. The director is very important. The director must be a strong leader with passion for filmmaking and a gift for collaboration. There are other collaborators within the movie: screenwriter, actors, director of photography. Screenwriter is the person that writes the story. Actors, director of photography, production engine designer does the sets, editor chops it all together, sound designer does the sound. All work with the director to develop their contributions, and the director must approve their decisions. The director's primary responsibilities are performance and camera, and coordinating the performance and the camera together. The ways of looking at a movie. So some movies, you know, are not easy to see, like what's going on. You can't really break it down. Invisibility and cinematic language. So it's saying the movie moves too fast for any one person to comprehend all of it. It just moves too fast. You can't see all that's going on. Books are different. You can pause, you can catch everything. So they have different shots that, you know, movie lookers or people watching the movie identify with. It's called fade out and fade in. It's one of the most straightforward examples of this phenomenon, which is the viewer's tendency to identify subconsciously with the camera's viewpoint. So you tend to, follow the camera, and when you look at a movie, you look at it from the camera's perspective, and you take that as your perspective. So when they use a fade out and a fade in, it's a good transition between the scenes. Fade out is when the scene gets darker and darker until it's black. Fade in is when it gets slow and then it fades in. Low angle shot communicates something that's hidden. So you're looking at something from the bottom, which is not usually an angle. Things look bigger if you look at it from like a child's perspective. So if you look at this in Juno, you see how the camera is down and looking up. It gives you a different type of shot, a different type of feeling, different type of location. So cutting on action. So this is when the editor is connecting one shot to the other shot, and they often connect it in the middle of the action, so that your eye doesn't realize that there has been a change. It looks all fluid, like a one fluid motion. This is a trick. Cultural invisibility. So really, movies seek to entertain the customers. So you want to give them what they want, tap and reinforce their fundamental desires and beliefs. Kind of don't really want to challenge them because somebody might not like the movie. You want the mass of the people to like the movies. But, you know, most of the cultural things might be so hidden that, and your beliefs are so hidden down in you that you don't even recognize that it's hitting you culturally. It hits you on a subconscious level, and maybe an hour or 2 hours later, you realize like the cultural impact that you have. Sometimes cultural invisibility is not really such a calculated decision. you know, so you know what they try to do is not to reinforce what people are ready to believe and not make another statement. But sometimes people, are just oblivious. They don't even they they do things not to reinforce the cultural statement or the cultural norm. They just do it because it's always been done like that. So they're not really trying to reinforce any type of cultural norm. So the protagonist is that's the main character. They're talking about Juno, and they're talking about abortion and pregnancy in Juno, and how her the way she is familiar to audiences. She kind of rejects institutions, but then holds them dear. Implicit and explicit meaning. So it's just talking about looking, at movies in a deeper way. Implicit is like below the surface. Explicit is available on the surface. So like Juno is about rebellious teens that gets pregnant, and resolves to handle the problem. She wants an abortion first, but then she allows a family to adopt the kid. So then she spent. So this is like explicitly what the movie is about. But then there's also some implicit meaning about family, what family means, what love is. Those things are sort of implicit. So whereas the cultural the cultural invisibility, you might not go with abortion or think of what Juno is doing is right, but when the characters talk about love, like everybody can relate to love and family and being together with your family. So then you kind of maybe unconsciously root for the character, even though you know she is different than what your beliefs, what your views are. That's a technique, cultural invisibility um, that they use in the movie. Viewer expectations. Um, so viewers' expectations are basically the way the movie flows, the way everybody expects it to flows. Like blockbusters, Transformers, the guy gets the girl, and then the guy, the hero, um, wins at the end. But sometimes when you analyze a movie, one way to analyze it is that the movie didn't go as expected. You got to understand how film conveys mood, information. There's like a formal analysis that you could use to do these techniques. So this is formal analysis. So you got to dissect the complex synthesis of cinematography, sound, composition, design, movement, performance, and editing. All those together is formal analysis. So, formal analysis is, just noticing, like say they said, like the setting of everything around. It's sunny outside, and then like the sounds that you hear, um, the design, the movement, um, like themes in the movie. Like say for instance, Juno, she's always sitting in the chair, like that crazy chair. Um, sometimes movies will come back to like a set phrase. These are like formal analysis. How the director is moving the camera, like if he's using dollies, the duration of shots, the point of view of the cameras, more technical things that's more formal. There's an alternative approaches to analysis. I mean, you can analyze the movie from different outside perspectives, like from a feminist perspective, from the linguistic perspective, like what language is used, is it slang, is there a different type of accent, like comparative analysis, illegitimate pregnancy, and different films of that type. So, there's different ways, from using formal analysis. Formal analysis is like the movie itself. You can bring other beliefs and look through the movie through that lens, and that'll give you a different type of analysis. So they talk about the Hunger Games and cultural and formal analysis. The cultural analysis of the Hunger Games might ask if the saga's woman heroine and fan base qualify the movies as feminist, because basically the woman succeeds. What qualifies as a woman friendly movie, basically having two women characters who talk to each other about something else besides a man. That's a woman friendly movie. And narrative analysis of the Hunger Games. It's like classical storytelling, hidden talent, special destiny, undergoing a challenge like Star Wars, like Harry Potter. That's sort of like a classic story. You can study why the Hunger Games has such an appeal. Field of depth. Depth of field. Depth of field. The filmmaker can manipulate how lenses and light interact to control the depth of the camera. So you'll have shots like this where this guy looks far away, this person looks closer because he's kind of out of focus. This guy looks far away and she looks closer because he's out of focus. So you have, this is called a eye line cut, because all you it's like looking closely into another person's eyes. I mean, that's a general sense of chapter 1. I'm going to send this to you, and then you let me know, is that something that you're looking for? Do you understand it?